Welcome back. We are working through problem 8.3a. We've just completed part A on the perpetual method. Now we're going to continue on down the problem and solve this same LIFO inventory problem using the periodic method. The periodic method to me is a little less intuitive, but lots of companies use it. You check in with your inventory at the end of each month, you recount your inventory, and then you adjust to the inventory. So you are making adjustments every month, where perpetual means every sale you're adjusting your inventory balance. Periodic means every month or every period you're adjusting your inventory balance, typically to inventory counts. So here's how you do it. First, you want to track your inventory units. And so I always start with this: units available, and sometimes it's called units available for sale during the month. And our units available is the beginning balance, 200 plus any purchases, so 300 and 175. 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 175, 675. 675 units were available this month. Well, how many units did we have at the end of the month? Units in ending inventory, right? Or ending units, you could just say. Maybe I've overflowered my language there, made it a little fancy. Our ending units. And typically this will be done by counting them, right? So we have 290, we counted them, and it says on January 31st, a count of inventory is performed. We have 290 units of this inventory type. If you weren't given that, you would just have to add and subtract here. You go, well, here's my purchases, here's my sales, and be satisfied with that number. However, a physical count is a better way of knowing how much inventory you have. So we counted them. We had 290 units on hand at the end of the period. So what does that mean? Well, the periodic method says we're not going to keep track of our sales by adding up the sales. No. We keep track of our sales by saying, here's what I could have sold maximally. Here's what I have left. The difference is what I sold. We assume we sold the difference. We check in periodically on our inventory and we go, well, whatever I'm missing, I assume I sold. So units sold. And it's just 675 minus 290. We sold 385. Okay, now we just want to say this all in dollars now. So units available in dollars, or we'll call it cost of goods available. Cost of goods sold. And ending in, or actually I should do this in the same order. Cost of goods sold to come last. Let's move that down one. And cost of ending inventory. And that's the tricky one. This is the challenging one. Cost of goods available, pretty straightforward. You just add up your beginning inventory plus your purchases. I'll circle the amount. So $8,000 was our beginning inventory, 200 times 40. Then 300 times 48 is 14,400. 175 times 52 is 9,100. Add them up. 8,000 plus 14,400 plus 9,100 means our cost of goods available is $31,500. Cost of ending inventory. This is the tough one, and this is where I use the funny acronym. When we did FIFO, I said LISH, last in, still here. With LIFO, the acronym I use to help me with this is FISH, first in, still here, right? And last in, first out means we're getting rid of all our new stuff. Well, our old stuff is still here. So how many units are still here? And the ending inventory is 290 units. So I've got to say, okay, well, what are my 290 oldest units? And it's 200. Let me just erase this writing. It's 200, the first in, and then 90 of these ones. So that's what I've got in my ending inventory. 200 at 40 and 90 at 48. 200 at 40 and 90 at 48. That's 8,000 plus 90 times 48. 4,320. So that's 12,320. Okay, so we had $31,000 worth of stuff available to sell. we have $12,000 left over in inventory. How much did we sell? And it's the difference, right? We had this much available. I have this much left at the end. I must have sold the difference. And if we have good inventory controls, we did sell the difference, but not all companies have amazing inventory controls. 19,180 is the cost of the goods that we sold. So getting to that key calculation, sales rev minus COGS equals gross profit. Our sales rev is just the same. Doesn't matter what method or, FIFO, LIFO weighted average, doesn't matter periodic or perpetual. It's 38,500. The sales are the sales. Our cost of goods, 19,180, and you'll see it's a little bit different from the previous answer. 38,500 minus 19,180 is 19,320. If you do FIFO, it's the same across the FIFO methods, whether it's perpetual or periodic. When you do LIFO, you'll see it's a little different. You can see we had 19,320 here and 19,380 there. So they are a little bit apart, and that's to be expected. We would not expect them to be the same. Okay, so it says Part A, calculate ending inventory. We did the value of ending inventory and the amount, 290. Calculate sales, COGS, and gross profit, and we've done that as well. I guess we could do the percentages. 100%, 19,180 divided by 38,500, 49.8%, meaning that this is 50.2%. Okay. Part B says do journal entries, and the journal entries for periodic, pretty straightforward. We'll use all the same dates. So January 8th, January 15th, January 21st, and January 30th. Now, with periodic, we don't touch inventory with these entries. We only touch inventory in adjustments at the end of the period. Well, Part C will be touching inventory then. So when I make a purchase, I don't debit inventory, I debit purchases. I do credit AP, and the amount is just the same as up above, 14,400, and it's just, the amount I purchased. January 15th, again, I don't touch inventory, so I debit AR, credit sales, but I don't touch COGS or inventory. I just don't touch them. So debit AR, credit sales for 22,500. And that, again, is just the amount from the question right there, 22,500, right? 225 times 100. January 21st, debit purchases, credit AP for 9,100. And last but not least, January 30th, debit AR, credit sales rev for 16,000, and I don't touch COGS or inventory. So that's it. That's Part B. Pretty straightforward. Part C, though, is harder. Part C says, prepare the month-end adjusting entry required on January 31st to update the inventory account and record cost of goods sold. All right. If you've done all the legwork here, it's not a hard entry, but you just have to know to do it. So the first thing is, it says, it kind of gives it away here, to update the inventory account and record cost of goods sold. How much ending inventory do I have? And we debit inventory for that amount. So debit inventory and ending for the amount of the ending inventory, 12,320. I debit cost of goods sold for the amount of the COGS, 19,100, 180. My writing's messy. It's 180, 19,180. I credit purchases. This purchases account is just a temporary account. It's meant to be cleared out, so let's clear it out. 14,400 plus 9,100, right? My two purchases equals 23,500. And I credit my beginning inventory. We're adjusting to that inventory amount. So our opening inventory, we wipe it out, send it to zero, and then we debit ending inventory to get the right amount. This isn't referring to any specific inventory. It's just saying this is what my inventory balance was. We credit it, and then we debit what we want our inventory balance to be. Sometimes people are like, well, don't I still have my beginning inventory sitting there because it's LIFO? No. Don't think of it that way. Just think of it like we're zeroing out a value and we're putting in the value it's supposed to be. So we credit beginning inventory for the amount of the beginning inventory, which was, $8,000 worth of beginning inventory. I always double check this to make sure it adds 12,320 plus 19,180, 31,500 in debits, and I can just see it, 31,500 in credits. Yes, the journal entry balances. We're done part C. Now the hardest part of the whole question, I think part B, I don't think it's that hard, but the bonus here. Assume that the January 31st physical count revealed 288 units, not 290. So happens all the time. You count your inventory. You do not have the amount that you thought you had. The accountant's wrong, right? So some of the inventory went missing or got broken or got stolen or whatever. And we're 2 pieces short. All right, well, here's how you deal with that. This company wouldn't adjust because they would just go, we have 675 units available. They count their ending inventory. It's only 288. So therefore, they must have sold 2 extra units, right? They're going to show themselves as having sold 387 units. Now the revenue is still the same, but they're going to show themselves as having sold 387 units. Cost of goods available, that's just the same, 31,500. Cost of ending inventory. Well, heading back up here, first in, still here, and we're saying we have 288 units still here. So I have 200 units of these $40 units, and I have $88 of the $48 units. So 200 at 40 and 88 of the $48 units. So 200 at 40 is still 8,000. 88 of 48 is 4224. And you can see the difference there, 4224 versus 4320. We're off by $96, which makes sense because we're off by 2 $48 units, right? 2 units are off. They're worth $48 each. That's 2 times 48 is 96. So our inventory value went down by $96, and we can see where it is. 8,000 plus 4224 is 12,224. What a funky number. Our cost of goods sold, therefore, is 31,500 minus 12,224. Oops, 31,500 minus 12,224, 19,276. And I think we're ready to go. So in terms of the journal entry, so we wouldn't have done this journal entry at all. That journal entry wouldn't have appeared because at no point did we think we had 385 units. We thought, or rather 290 units, we thought we had 288, and therefore our inventory will get adjusted a little higher or a little lower, our COGS a little higher. Let's do it. So our inventory debit is to cost of ending inventory, 12,224. Debit cost of goods sold for 19,276. I'm going to clean that up. It's just a little messy. 12,224. And then the credits are the same. 23,500 and 8,000 for inventory. And the difference here is, again, our inventory is minus, what did we say, $96. And our cost of goods sold plus $96. And therefore, if our COGS are up, everything else is the same. Our gross profit's down by $96. And it makes sense. We lost 2 pieces of inventory, cost $48 each. So we lost there. The debit here, though, is only to COGS, right? There's no shrinkage adjustment under periodic method. Whew, that's a doozy of a question, but we got through it. Thank you so much for staying with me, and that's it for 8.3a. In the next video, we'll do weighted average. Same problem, but weighted average. So stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. The next video in our series is right up here, and if you want a supercut of all of the videos in this series, that's the one down below.